There's a version of you that you had in mind. Maybe it's the man you thought you'd be by now. Maybe it's the version that has it more figured out, more present with his family, more certain about where he's going, less stuck between the security he built and the meaning he's still looking for. You're not him yet, and the gap between who you are and who you're intended to be sits with you in quiet moments. The drive home, the few minutes before you go inside, the moment before anyone else is up. Most men carry that gap alone and don't talk about it. This video was for those men. Here's what I didn't expect. The clearest map for navigating that gap is in a self-help book. It isn't in a podcast or a men's group or a leadership seminar. It's in a cartoon about robots that turn into animals on a prehistoric planet. Beast Wars ran from 96 to 99. Most of us watched it for the action and the iconic voices in the battles. But when you go back and look at what these characters actually do, the choices they make, the costs they pay, the things they refuse to give up, you'll find something else entirely. You find 8 different answers to the same question every man is quietly asking. What do I do when life asks more of me I feel I can possibly give? This is Disassembled Heroes and Villains, and this is what these 8 Beast Wars characters actually taught us about being better men. Optimus Primal was the captain of an exploration vessel, a crew of scientists and scouts. He wasn't trained for war, he wasn't positioned for it, wasn't expecting it. On day 1 of the Beast Wars, Rattrap refused to rescue a pinned-down Cheetor. Primal went himself. His reasoning was simple. I wouldn't give someone an order I wouldn't be able to carry out myself. That was the standard he set before he knew what the next 3 seasons were going to ask of him. What followed was a war he wasn't trained for. A sacrifice that killed him to destroy the Planet Buster. A resurrection. Taking Optimus Prime's dying spark into his own body to protect it. By beast machines, he was carrying the weight of an entire planet. Blaming himself for Cybertron's fall, nearly making catastrophic decisions trying to fix it, and he kept going anyway. His final act was plunging into Cybertron's core alongside Megatron to reformat the planet and free every captured spark. The Oracle had given him his mission at the start, transform and transcend. His final act was proving he understood what it meant. Primal shows us that responsibilities that fall upon you, whether thrust or volunteered for, don't wait for you to feel qualified. The moment arrives and you either meet it or you don't. And the men who step forward before they're ready find out what kind of man they truly are. If you're waiting to feel ready to be the father your kids need, the husband your marriage deserves, or the leader your team is looking for, Primal's answer is that readiness is a myth. What you actually need is a standard you hold before the moment arrives. I wouldn't give someone an order I wouldn't be able to carry out myself. What's yours? I went deep on Optimus Primal in a full episode. If that resonates with you, make sure to check it out after this video. Code of Honor is one of the greatest episodes of television ever made. I'll die on that hill. Dinobot stands alone against the entire Predacon force to protect a valley of early humans he will never meet. His systems are failing. His internal computers tries to force him into stasis lock to save what's left of him. He overrides it. When Megatron finally faces him, Dinobot knows he won't come out alive, yet he faces him anyway. He attacks anyway, and destroys the golden disc to limit the terror Megatron can inflict. His spark is extinguished, surrounded by his team, and armed with the knowledge that what he did was right. And if we're honest, we make a lot of our decisions based on who's watching. We show up differently when someone's keeping score. We're braver in public than we are in private, or more principled when it costs us less. Dinobot didn't have that luxury. The moment stripped everything away until the only question left was, what do I actually believe is worth doing? Men who live with the most integrity aren't the ones who never faced that question. They're the ones who answered it before the moment arrived. Much like Optimus Primal, we have a full episode on Dinobot, it's linked down below. It goes much deeper on what this costs and what it means. Blackarachnia never chose to be a Predacon. She was a maximal protoform, a blank slate, fresh from the stasis pod. Tarantulas reprogrammed her before she was ever activated. Her entire existence began as someone else's decision. She didn't choose her faction, her loyalties, her initial values. They were installed. What she chose was what she did next. Across Beast Wars, she systematically dismantled that programming, first mentally, questioning everything, pushing against the Predacon logic she'd been handed, then literally in crossing the Rubicon when Rhinox removed the Predacon shell program and she emerged fully maximal. She didn't overcome her past. She refused to let it be her ceiling. Most men are carrying something they didn't choose. A family dynamic that handed them a broken template for what a man is supposed to be. A background that told them what was and wasn't available to them. A version of themselves that was installed by someone else before they were old enough to question it. Blackarachnia's lesson isn't inspirational, it's practical. The upbringing you were given isn't permanent, but dismantling it requires the same thing she did. Deciding, specifically and repeatedly, that you are not going to let where you started determine where you stop. In Dark Designs, Megatron captured Rhinox and reprogrammed him as a Predacon. What happened next is one of the most underrated character moments in the entire series. Rhinox, the quiet one, the engineer, the bot who never needed to be the loudest in the room, was so ruthlessly, efficiently effective as a Predacon that Megatron had to reverse the procedure just to survive him. And yet, in other episodes, he was the one leading blinded teammates back to base using their other senses, traveling into the Matrix itself to retrieve Optimus Primal's spark, solving problems nobody else could see were problems until he'd already solved them. There's a version of masculinity that requires constant visibility, that needs to be seen leading, seen competing, seen winning. And there's another version that just shows up, does the work, doesn't need the room to notice. Men who outlast everyone else are almost never the loudest in the room. They're the ones whose absence, when it happens, makes everything else stop working. You probably know exactly what you're worth. The room you're in might not. The question is what that gap is costing you, whether you're okay with it. In the first episode of Beast Wars, Cheetor disobeyed orders. He got himself captured and had to be rescued. That was his baseline. For several seasons the pattern held. Impulsiveness, recklessness, constantly outpacing his own judgment. He was the kid who couldn't sit still long enough to think before he acted. But by Beast Machines, he was running the Maximals' entire guerrilla war while Optimus was lost in his own guilt. And when Optimus nearly opened the plasma energy chamber, a decision that would have destroyed all technology on Cybertron, it was Cheetor who talked him down. The student saving the mentor from his worst moment. His final vision from the Oracle was Optimus Primal's spark flying free. The same words that had started it all came back one last time: transform and transcend. The kid who couldn't follow an order in episode 1 ended the series receiving that message from the Matrix. Most men want to skip the version of themselves that's still making mistakes. We want to arrive at the competent, settled, assured version without getting through the awkward, reckless, getting it wrong version. Cheetor was proof that's not how it works. The process isn't the obstacle to becoming who you're supposed to be. The process is the point. Where are you trying to skip ahead, and what are you losing by not going through it? Megatron had a plan. Steal the Golden Disc, find the Energon, secure Predacon dominance. It was clean, achievable, and contained. But the Golden Disc had a hidden message. A contingency programmed by the original Megatron, coordinates of prehistoric Earth, a chance to destroy Optimus Prime and his stasis pod inside the Ark, and rewrite the entire war from the beginning. Megatron found that message, and he made a choice. He sealed the tunnel, used patience instead, seasons of building power, calculating, waiting. He was methodical in a way that made him genuinely terrifying. While that plan failed, his war wasn't over. By Beast Machines, he had won. All of Cybertron was his, every spark on the planet under his control, and what did he do with it? He tried to absorb every spark into himself, to be the sole thing in existence, not to lead or build, not to create anything, just to be the only thing left, the Alpha and the Omega, alone. When a man loses track of why he's building, the family, the legacy, the people depending on him, the ambition doesn't just stall, it inverts. The thing that was supposed to serve something becomes the thing that consumes everything. I've thought about that in my own life. There are goals that make you better, and goals that hollow you out. And the difference isn't the goal itself, it's whether there's still someone at the center of it, something the result is actually for. Megatron's tragedy isn't that he wanted power, it's that by the time he had it, he had long since forgotten what it was for. What are you building towards? And is the person you're becoming in the process someone you'd actually want to be? I covered Beast Wars Megatron in full in a separate episode. Much like Primal and Dinobot, it's another episode for you to check out. In the first episode of Beast Wars, Rhinox had to physically hold Rattrap up to get him to provide cover and fire. That was his baseline. For 3 seasons, Rattrap complained, he doubted, insulted everyone around him, predicted doom at every turn. He was the most consistently pessimistic presence on the team, and made no effort to hide it. He also infiltrated the Predacon base alone. He shot Optimus Primal to maintain his cover, and said it was trying to miss. He single-handedly destroyed Ravage's transwarp cruiser by launching himself onto it with fusion grenades, and held Dinobot's hand as he died, then stood up, and was the first to salute him. In Beast Machines, he couldn't transform. He felt completely useless, briefly went to Megatron out of feeling undervalued, and then walked back into the sunlight with his team. No grand speech, no transformation moment, just the decision to keep showing up. Rattrap never became confident, he became reliable. And here's what that tells me about men who are wanting to feel better about themselves before they fully show up. for their kids, their marriages, their work, whatever it is they keep saying they'll commit to once they feel ready. The most reliable man in the room isn't always the most confident. Sometimes, it's just the one who never actually leaves. You don't have to believe in yourself to show up today. You just have to show up. That's enough. It always has been. It's always been enough. Waspinator was destroyed in almost every episode of Beast Wars, and he was shot down, blown apart, crushed, possessed by Starscream, stuffed headfirst into Rampage, reassembled every time, never quit, never got respect, never got credit. In the second to last episode, they'd finally had enough. He ripped off his Predacon symbol mid-sentence and declared himself out of the Beast Wars. His own teammates blew him to scrap before he could finish the speech. His parts were recovered by the very early humans the Predacons had been trying to destroy, while every other Transformer left for Cybertron, every single one of them, the victors and the survivors, back to the world they'd been fighting for. But Waspinator stayed. He led the tribe. He was finally happy. He didn't find belonging by fighting harder for it in the place that kept destroying him. He found it by stopping and staying somewhere that actually wanted him. I think about this more than almost any other character in the show, because most men I know, and this was me for longer than I like to admit, there were rooms I stayed in long after they made it clear what I was worth to them, kept showing up, kept taking the hits, got good at reassembling myself, just functional enough to take more. Waspinator had that figured out before I did. Waspinator's move, ripping off the symbol, walking away, staying somewhere that actually saw him, wasn't a weakness. It's one of the bravest things in the entire series. The question isn't whether the room you're in is hard. Hard is fine. Hard refines you. Hard makes you better, sharper. The question is whether the room you're in is ever actually going to want you. If that answer is no, you already know what Waspinator did, and it's okay to do it too. Before we close, if this is hitting for you, subscribe and drop a comment below. I want to know, which of these 8 characters do you recognize in yourself? Not the one you want to be, the one you actually recognize yourself in. Drop it below, let's talk about it. Let's finish this. These 8 characters aren't a list of virtues to aspire to. They're not a self-improvement checklist, they're mirrors. And the reason they hit differently as an adult than they did as a kid is that you have enough life now to recognize yourself in them. Primal leading before he was ready, that's you taking on something you weren't trained for and finding out who you are in the process. Dinobot dying for people he'd never meet, that's every man who does the right thing when the only witness is himself. Megatron winning everything and finding out it meant nothing. That's the warning every ambitious man needs to hear before it's too late to change the answer. Blackarachnia refusing to let her origin be her ceiling. Rhinox being the one everyone depends on without needing the room to notice. Cheetor becoming competent through failure rather than around it. Rattrap showing up without ever fully believing he could. And Waspinator walking away from the room that kept destroying him and finding the one that wanted him. I started building this channel, refining it until I was building something I truly enjoyed, in the margins of an actual career, with a newborn and a toddler, with 2 hours a day if I'm lucky, because I needed these mirrors myself. Because fiction does something that self-help can't. It shows you the truth about yourself through someone else's story, and you can look at it without flinching. The writer of Proverbs said, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." That's what this is. That's what these characters are for. Iron. And if you're a man who's carrying something, building something, trying to become something in whatever margins your life affords you right now, I want this channel to be the iron that sharpens you, one character at a time. And with that, stay disciplined, stay present, stay faithful, and as always, stay handsome.